Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. We are talking the American Conference this week. It's preview season. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Jim Root. I'm the host. I'm joined by Kai McEwen and just Kai McEwen. Matthew Cox is out of service, out of Africa, he's gone. Matt's traveling. So it's just Jim and Kai today. But we're pumped to talk the American. Your Memphises, your South Floridas, your Tulsas, your Tulanes. Kai, how are you? Are you ready to get into true preview season after last week's mid-major extravaganza?
Yes, Jim, I am. Per usual, we have no idea where Matt went. He just tells us he's not going to be able to do the pod, and then we find out he's actually not even in town. We think he's on the West Coast, judging by his messages. So we wish Matthew a lot of fun wherever he is, wherever he may be in this world.
Yeah, that's Matt's a mystery man, even to us. It's very fun not knowing where our cohort is, and it's great when he blesses us with his presence. Today we don't get it, unfortunately, but that's all right. We have got a lot to say on the American. It is episode 414, Kai. We're racking them up. We got a quick Roots roundup for the people. Not a lot of news this time of year. It's basically the most dead part of the college basketball calendar before we get into preseason hype machine. And then we'll go team by team, talk a little bit of an overview with the American too before we get into the teams. But yeah, just going to be a full American preview. Very patriotic is what we got here. Not splitting the preview eps as we have done in the past. This would typically be mashed up with the A10. We know the A10 fan base is ferocious, Kai, so we're giving them their own episode this year. Very excited about it. Before we get into it, a shout out to Jay Pitty, aka Joe Paskoff, our composer of our tunes on the opening track there. Follow us on Twitter at 3MW_CBB. Also the same handle on Instagram. Subscribe to the pod on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is you get your pods. Leave a review if you so choose. We will read the Apple reviews. We've got one from our boy, Cabo Rave, this week. I love that he's still firing on there. And if you want to leave a question in your review, we would be happy to answer it. Treat it as a mailbag of sorts. We're also live on YouTube, 7 a.m. Friday morning, our typical launch time for this podcast. Subscribe to that channel as well. If you have not yet, just give it a little click. Would really make us grin. We appreciate that. And also join Basket Under Review, our college basketball independent outlet with Trilly Donovan. We are releasing our top 50 countdown of previews there. But that's just a small sliver of the great content you'll get. The Discord is always popping off. Today is Illinois Day in our preview, which means it's going to be an active day in the Discord. A lot of chatter. But you also get scout team videos from Kevin Sweeney and Eric Fawcett. You get great articles from Brian Ralph and Will Warren, the Burp podcast, Basket Under Review pod with Eamon Brennan. Stats by Will and Jim. If you want to hear me talk on another episode or another pod, Will Warren and I are doing that. Typically comes out Wednesday mornings. All kinds of goodies at Basket Under Review, only $10 a month. Highly, highly encourage getting over there and joining the fun. Kai, that's pretty much all I got. I think it's time to get into the roundup.
Jim, I'm ready. Let's round it up.
Let's do it. I will be inserting the Roots Roundup intro. Matt's not been doing it in the production, so I'm going to give the people a little quick taste of it this week. If they've been missing it, I'll be on the production. So I'm excited about that. Before we talk news and notes, Kai, a shout out to CBB Analytics, our Bible in the preview season and really throughout the year. Great college basketball data website. You've got all kinds of features. Every time I log in, I find something new. You've got an all-in-one metric, their RAPM. If you're, looking for something to just capture everything about a player, you can go to that, their leaderboard. You've got shot charts, heat maps of shooting. We use that a ton. We use the on-off data a ton. You can break down statistics into sections of the season or sections of the game. Just really anything you can think of with college hoops, CBB Analytics has got it. Highly recommend that as well. If you are a hoop head, use promo code WEAVE when you sign up, WEAVE, to get $40 off your subscription. It's a nice little deal, folks. Get on that, especially with the season around the corner. You want your data game to be sharp. So get on there. Promo code WEAVE. Coaches, staffs, let us know if you want the Holy Grail membership, the all-in-one. So give us a holler if you need to. But promo code WEAVE for anyone signing up for $40 off your membership. That's CBB Analytics. Okay, Kai. A little bit of news and notes. Nothing too fancy here. The big headlines right now are the non-conference schedules that are rolling out. Some of them are very good, Dukes. Some of them are very bad, Fordhams.
Fordham.
Yeah, not great. They range all over the spectrum there. Really confused by the Fordham schedule. They're playing two Division three teams, four NEC teams at home. We won't make fun of Fordham too much here because we love Mike Magpeo. But Kai, that's really the big news. There's nothing in the tectonic plates of the sport that is shifting. So that we're glad. Nothing to recap here.
Yeah, we discuss schedules, of course, in the Discord, among other things, and I won't name the person just in case, but a theory about the scheduling, which is probably true, is hey, if we can get 20 wins as a program, then more money will come in. So 20 wins equals good. Mike Magpeo's like, I want 20 wins. I'll schedule easy for us this off season, or excuse me, this non-conference, and I'm gonna rack them up. And my team might be okay in A10 play, but as long as I have that 20 wins, I'm gonna get donor support. That's probably the motivation, Jim. It's also funny that Fordham didn't. They're not playing like anybody outside of the New York area, so he's saying very local. Eat local, drink local, play local is the Fordham Rams slogan this season.
Yeah, locally sourced. They're heading down to their farmers market. They're picking up some opponents and they're taking them back to the Rose Hill Gym and planning to beat them there. We'll see. It's an interesting strategy. Does that actually work? Is there data to support you get more money for 20 wins? I don't know. We'll find out maybe. I guess they're an interesting test case with a new coach, a new roster, etc., and a team that has not really been a banner program in the A10 for quite a while. Injury news. Not a huge update, but Kai Owen Freeman of Creighton, it doesn't seem like he's going to be ready for practice. Not going to be cleared for another 6 weeks per Johnny Rothstein. It's going to end up kind of button up against the start of the season. They really need him back for the Players Era Festival. That's the big, like, have that circled on the calendar. It's expected he'll be ready for that. But Kai, if you don't have Owen Freeman on the Creighton roster, how do you feel about the Blue Jays?
Not nearly as good, Jim, because front court depth was a problem even with Freeman. They did sign that Serbian guy eventually. It's like Javorki,
They have Dimitrijevic,
Dimitrijevic.
and then they got the Turkish guys, the one they got
Oh,
recently, right?
they had a Turkish guy too. So yeah, so when I wrote the preview, it was very thin. It was Dimitrijevic is probably not coming. They didn't sign Conan yet from Turkey. It was just Freeman, and he was hurt. So it was bad news. There's good reports coming in from overseas about Conan. Dimitrijevic looks pretty skilled. I still think it's a problem, though, if those are the only two guys up front. But the team's going to shoot like crazy. I think it's going to be a very bad defense, very good offense, and we'll see a Creighton team around, I don't know, 8 to 10 seed again, 7 to 10 seed, top 4 in the Big East.
Kai, they sound like a lopsided lovely to
They
me.
are.
That's what I'm
They're going to
hearing.
be. Yeah. Yeah. Like
Heavily offense tilted.
80 spots, 70 spots spread between offense and
Man,
defense.
I could see it being even more. The
100.
old Iowa teams. I mean, they've got two Iowa players. They
Yeah.
could be the top 15 in offense and 150th in defense. We'll see. Waiver denials, Kai, Kansas State. Tyreek Smith, the Memphis transfer, had his waiver denied. He will not be suiting up for the Wildcats this season. I believe they're still in pursuit of one more Russian big man, but they did release their official roster and obviously no Tyreek Smith. Would we still have K-State top 50 today, Kai, with their sort of alarming front court depth?
I think so, Jim, because it falls off pretty quickly once you're getting up to like 50. You can make a lot of cases for a lot of teams, but they're all kind of gross in some way or the other. Yeah, Tyreek Smith, it sucks. I'm confused. What K State were they really planning on him being eligible? Like he had 4 years. He this would have been his sixth season in college basketball. Technically, he redshirted last year, but they've had him on the roster since the spring, and they've known that this is an issue that definitely could pop up, and it doesn't seem like they really rushed to address it. They just kind of assumed it would go away. I don't understand the planning there from Jerome Tang.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any foresight. It feels like they're scrambling to finish their homework the morning they're walking into class, and yeah, it's why it's not going to look that good in the front court. PJ Haggerty solves a lot of ills, and Nate Johnson's a nice piece. They've got some shooting, but not much tenacity in the front court. And I don't know, they're going to find like, remember when they randomly got Will McNair super late in the offseason, like 3 years ago? Like that would be a savior for them, somebody of that level at
Do
this
you
point.
like the Buka signing?
That guy is terrible. Like truly one of the worst players I've watched on film. And Kai, I don't know if you saw this. Barry, our guy Barry, posted in the Discord. Jerome Tang's first quote about him when discussing Mr. Bucco was, first of all, he's big. We like that, and he sets illegal screens, so we know he's not afraid of contact.
Okay. Okay.
That's the ravest review you can come up with your new 7'2" guy. Yuck, that's not great. But yes, no Tyreek Smith does make it a little bit alarming in the front court. They're gonna have to kind of piece it together with scotch tape and
Mm.
all kinds of smoke and mirrors in the front court. Our last bit of news before we get into the American preview. Kai John Fanta is staying with the Big East. We're very excited about this. He is going to NBC Sports to be their lead play-by-play guy for Big East basketball. It just feels right. It would be wrong to have him not at all involved with it. The contracts for television are changing over where the Big East is going to be on NBC quite a bit. And it's good to have Mr. Fanta staying with that fan base. Kai, they all love him. They love to hate him, whatever it is. He's the man. He's the man, Johnny Fanta.
Yeah, he rocks. He's fantastic off the court as he is on the court. Also, yeah, do what you know, right? John Fanta knows the Big East. I like that he can be genuine about it and be a genuine fan and also announce it. I don't like when some of the more national guys, Jim, announce like mid-major games and they clearly have no idea what they're talking about because they never watched these guys play, and they're like looking at their notes that they wrote down really quickly the night before while announcing the game. John Fanson knows the Big East. This is a great
Yeah.
pickup for NBC. Excited to hear him on the broadcast.
Yeah, knows the back to front, knows the coaches. They're comfortable with him at this point. They know who he is. It's good to keep him involved. Well done, NBC. I don't know what you're paid, but it wasn't enough. Add a zero. That's what I say. All right, Kai, that's it. It's a very quick roundup today. It is time to talk the American Conference. I'll do a little table setting here before we get all the way into it. It was kind of the worst year ever for the conference last year. The first time outside of Ken Palm's top 10, they finished behind Conference USA and the Missouri Valley. So perhaps they shouldn't be getting this carpet rolled out, a whole preview on the three-man weave feed. But it's typically been a multi-bid league. So it's kind of what we're giving it credit for here. That's why we're doing a whole podcast on it. Yes, they have lost Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati in recent years. That certainly sucks down the depth of it. They got North Texas and UAB and Charlotte, UTSA. I don't know. They've reinforced it more for football, but it's not a super strong basketball conference right now. They only had two teams in the top 90 last year, and UAB was 99th. No one in the top 50, as Memphis was just outside of it. Do you feel like the league is losing an identity or kind of just sinking, Kai? It
Yes.
feels like they've got concrete shoes right now.
This league is sinking, Jim. As I was doing prep yesterday for this podcast, I was like, man, it's down across the board. I mean, you could say we'll talk about South Florida. They're definitely up. I think every other team, okay, maybe Tulsa, is down, or at least like not very exciting. And once you get past the first half of this league, or maybe top eight, it gets bleak. And I don't see this league really finishing top 10 again in the national standings. Maybe they will. We'll see how Conference USA and the Valley are this season, but the AAC is like right on their level right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, so if you go back and even just using current membership of the league, not including Houston, Cincinnati, et cetera, they had an average Ken Palm net rating of plus 4.7 in 2023. Last year was plus 1.2. So definitely some decline there. That's the lowest it's been since 2020 with the current membership. So it really is, unfortunately, drifting down a little. I don't know if we're going to see an enormous rebound. It's just kind of where it's at. That's kind of the new level of the conference at this point. And you mentioned South Florida. There are two new coaches in the league. Brian Hodgson at South Florida, the boss at Arkansas State, who had them a top 100 team, and Daniel Robinson at North Texas. Finally, going outside of the Grant McCaslin tree, Ross Hodge got the West Virginia job. So nobody was fired in this league. So despite that down year, you just had South Florida having to replace the interim coach and North Texas's coach getting a promotion. So we do have the same. There's coaching consistency. Perhaps that gives it a little more upside than we're giving it credit for. But I don't know, Kai. It's kind of a shrug for me, other than Hodgson.
Everybody except surprising Hardaway's in year 8. Everyone except him and Kennedy has been here not that long. I think 5 years or less across the board for every single team. So I think you're going to see the firing start coming after this season. I have a couple teams in mind, but maybe we save it for the actual preview here.
The chopping block is
Yes.
calling the hot seat. There are flames under a few chairs in the American Conference. Kai, I did a quick all conference. I haven't put together the official preview for Basket Under Review yet. So I just kind of, it's just a feel. This is a vibes all conference before I really get into the depths of it. Here's what I went with for the first team. Ahmad Robinson, the point guard for UAB. We know Andy Kennedy loves a high usage, fill it up type of guy. He's little, but he's mighty. Wes Enos, the Division II transfer heading to South Florida, big time scoring guard. Doug McDaniel from Memphis, who's probably going to have free reign to do whatever he wants. He's gonna fill up the box score, Kai, and that includes turnovers. Rowan Brumbaugh for Tulane, Isaiah Nelson for South Florida, also on the first team. He's following Hodgson from Arkansas State. Second team, I got Kenyon Giles from Wichita State, Jalen Smith for Rice. I kind of
Hmm.
squinted at this. He was their leading scorer on their foreign tour this offseason.
Oh,
So
really?
that's why I gave him the nod over a couple other guys on that roster. Nicolo Moretti for FAU. FAU's kind of a choose your own adventure with their all conference type honors. Will McClendon at North Texas and Jordan Riley for East Carolina. Kai, the one that's missing on there is Sincere Parker, and we can
Hmm.
touch on that when we get to Memphis. But that was a guy I thought had a lot of upside coming into this league. He's got some off the court issues. Any quick thoughts at all on all conference, or is that kind of a hand away for you? Let's get into the teams.
It's mostly a hand wave. Yeah, the Rice guy would have chosen was Broadnax because I think Rice might be the only team in this conference that returns their best player from last season, and I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm sure Tulane would like say maybe
Oh,
Brumbaugh, but
okay, Tulane,
Caleb,
right?
but Banks was a freaking monster and went to
Yeah,
DePaul, so he probably was the best
you can
player.
count Brumbaugh, I suppose. But yeah, Rice was horrible last year, so perhaps that's the caveat there. Yeah, you can choose a lot of different guys here. A lot of transfers. It's always tough doing an all conference team when there's so many transfers coming into this league. Jim, FAU, Cannon Carlisle
Get
doesn't
out.
tickle your
Kai,
fancy.
you are ejected out of my podcast for yeah, we're gonna discuss Mr. Carlisle. Unfortunately, I feel like he follows me like a specter. He's a poltergeist for me. I don't want him around. Yeah, it's I'm sure if Matt were here, he would say this league has become a little bit of a minor league for the power conferences where
Yeah,
the good players just kind of get called up and they're either out of eligibility or they end up in the Power Five. And this league's constantly having to replenish their cupboards, their coffers from mid majors. And we said South Florida's going to the D2 level for a big time player. So it is a tough league to be in. It's a little bit no man's land in basketball right now. But Kai, let's get into team previews. Let's not belabor it any longer. We are going to go in my standings order. I will let you know where I feel somewhat strongly about these standings and where I am kind of shrugging and saying choose your own adventure. But what I do feel strongly about, Kai, is number one, South Florida. I think they're the best team in this conference. That includes Memphis. I just think Hodgson is a rising star in the coaching world. We ranked him highly in our coaching discussions. He's got some consistency with his roster, bringing Isaiah Nelson and Joseph Pinion with him from Arkansas State. Got Wes Enos, this Division II stud, to fill out the roster. Kept a couple guys from last year. He's got a great freshman class, a couple of Canadians that were really good in the FIBA U19. There's just everything you want for him to play his up-tempo style. You've got depth. You got mobile bigs that can move and dunk and shoot a little bit. It just fits what he wants to do, and I think is arguably the most talented roster in the league too.
yeah. I'm putting them number one as well, Jim. They're really close to Memphis, but we'll get to Memphis in a second. I'm giving South Florida the nod. Hodgson's a stud, and you look at his 2 years at Arkansas State. It was 172 to 133 in Ken Palm's first year, and then 123 preseason rank to 84 finish. The best in Ken Palm history in Arkansas State, better than any McCaslin team, is pretty crazy to me, and that I put a lot of stock in that. I think Hodgson's truly a winner. And yeah, he brings a couple of guys from Arkansas State to make it a smooth transition. Jim, I was watching a little bit of Ennis last night. Stud. Stud. D2 All American, like you said. Lincoln Memorial. Josh Schertz's old school. Yeah, this guy's going to be great. I think he's an all conference player.
Kai, any McCaslin was here 1 year. Come
Yeah, I
on.
know. Yeah,
It did sound like a very grandiose statement, though. I liked it.
I do forget he was only
Yeah,
there 1 year. Yeah,
yeah, he's just a hop, skip, and a jump. Got to North Texas really quick. This roster is really good. Whatever you want, like, do you want a shooting heavy roster? Do you want to go big? Do you want a super switchy 5 out type of lineup? You can make it happen with this group. And Damian Collins, the transfer who's in the
yes,
SEC for a few years, like it just makes sense as the bouncy, like he's the mid-major-ish Cliff Omori, sort of like in the Alabama system, the guy that's gonna protect the rim, get a bunch of offensive rebounds, be a lob threat in ball screens. It just makes sense the way the fit and the pieces came together. There was a point in the offseason where Devin Hade was rumored to like Kansas, Kentucky, or somebody
uh,
else, and I kind of made fun of it. And then I think his agent deleted the tweet and completely pulled that down. But at South Florida, I think that guy's a really good piece. He's a good defender at Central Connecticut. He can shoot. There's just a lot here, a lot of options, and with a coach that knows what he's doing, I think this is a better team than what finished 84th at Arkansas State. So this team could push. How high is the ceiling, Kai? Could they get top 50?
I think they push top 50. Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's like top 25. I did take their future was something crazy, like 150 million to one. So
15, yeah, 1,500 to 1 or something, I think. Yeah.
so
I got a
I
dollar 50 on it. So what's up?
yeah, I know. I didn't get much either. But yeah, I think ceiling's top 50. That'd be a lot better than, South Florida's normal history. So it is a big jump for the program. I think Brian Gregory had them up pretty high that 1 year, but I love Collins stepping down. I think he's gonna be really good at this league. Yeah, Hade was an all-conference player in the NEC. There's enough shooting too. Like Ennis and Pinion are high volume 3-point shooting guys, and Omo Jaffo from Robert Morris can shoot a little bit. So
Yeah,
kind of
the guy,
thought of
guy won his
everything.
conference, played in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
Like, it's a nice role player.
Hutchin thought of everything. So I really do like the roster fit.
Yep. Kai, how quick you forget Stan Heath had an
Oh,
at-large
did
bid at
he?
South Florida in the Big East back in 2012. Yeah,
Wow.
but you're right. Gregory did crack the top 100 one year. So it's been a decent program, but I'm excited for them given the tragedy that went down a year ago. It feels like they've been able to rebound and rediscover their momentum. So good for the Bulls. All right, number two, Kai, it is Memphis. It doesn't feel like the same penny juice on the roster. There are still the power conference retreads or cast-offs with Doug McDaniel and Aaron Bradshaw bookending the lineup. But then there's a little bit of the American Conference All-Star team. He filled out the roster with some bigs that, I mean, should not ever see the floor in this conference. This past week, Tierno Sila and Aropa Rope, why are they on an American roster? Um, the size is bad outside of Bradshaw,
Yeah.
and certainly some people are skeptical of Bradshaw in general. And then the Sincere Parker status, it's really important. He's got some legal issues that could potentially lead to him not even playing this year. That takes away some real scoring juice. It could be a really disastrous defensive backcourt with him and Doug McDaniel if they play together. But if not, you're kind of scrambling a little bit too to find offensive weapons. It's probably the same thing with Penny Kai, where it's athletic and they can play up and be a good underdog. They have an unbelievable non-conference schedule. Like he's great at that. But again, not going to be a good big favorite, and I think they're a notch below South Florida now.
Yeah, I think they will be a feisty dog, like you said, Jim. They're athletic enough, they're talented enough, but they're not winning the games against good opponents. They're going to lose the bad games still that they tend to under Penny every single year. Like I said, it's his eighth year. He's outperformed his KenPom rank 3 times, and we know he's had a ton of talent. Last year, okay, great record, and you ended up getting what, a 5 seed, but lagged on analytics completely because they don't blow teams out. They don't take care of business against bad teams, and I don't see them stepping up with this roster that I think is way less talented than a Penny squad. Like Doug McDaniel is your number one player. He's not on the same level as PJ Haggerty. He's not the same scorer or
He's
the
probably
same.
worse than Tyrese Hunter, isn't he?
I think he's yeah. I would probably take Tyrese Hunter over him as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody else like Barry from Temple, Davis from South Carolina, I don't care about this team at all. I think Bradshaw will be okay, honestly, stepping down to the American. But yeah, you said it. They lack true size. The talent's not typical for a Penny Memphis team. And a Doug, even if Parker's healthy, a Doug and Parker backcourt, no thank you. That's not what I would like to sign up for.
Yeah, it's highly erratic. I mean, Penny's been outside the top 300 in turnover rate in 4 of his 7 years. The best year was 196th, and that was when Kendrick Davis was like just doing his own thing out there. And I don't think you have that in Doug. I think he's going to be a lot more of an erratic decision maker than Kendrick Davis was. And I just don't know if this roster has the top 35 shot blocking rate that they've had every single year under Penny and really good offensive rebounding. It's gonna have to be done a little bit differently based on the size. And I don't know if I totally trust Penny and the constantly turning over staff to figure it out to overcome a team like South Florida. So still got him second, Kai, but yeah, I just don't see the upside with this roster as much.
I'm putting him 2 right now, Jim, like you are, but I would not be surprised if they fall to like 5.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time picking who I would
Exactly.
bump above them.
Yes.
But yeah, it does feel like a team that can drift down to like 75th or could they fall outside the top 100, Kai? Is that crazy?
I think they could. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
a little surprising, but I think they could.
Yep. Okay, number 3 for me is UAB. This is a really tough team to predict this year.
Mhm.
Zero returning. It is a complete turnover, new roster for Andy Kennedy. Last year didn't really come together around Big Yaks the way they wanted to. I don't think the guards replaced Jelly Walker the way they hoped, but they did play pretty well down the stretch. Um, Almost got to the NCAA tournament, lost to Memphis in the final of the American tournament. But now, Kai, you've got some junior college players, which Kennedy has had a lot of success with over the years. Um, I don't know. What do you think when you look at this team? Do you think Kennedy can keep them as high competitive, or am I being too generous by putting them third with such a turned over roster?
I think I'd probably put them third as well, but I think they're down. Like most teams in this league are down. Um, Last year was such a disappointment. I mean, everyone expected this team to be really good. I think, considered them for top 50 and thought they could get there. And now they lose Lindeborg and their entire roster. But I still think you can kind of pencil in 20 wins, 12 AAC wins, excuse me, American wins from Kennedy, despite the roster flip, because I think the JUCO guys look solid. And I like the D1 transfers, like Robinson from Mercer. He's a stud. He can score. Jacob Meyer tore it up at Coastal Carolina, and I'm sure Matt would be singing his praises right now if he were on the podcast. Played at the Paul last year. Dana Rivera's fine. Kyron Lindsey, Jim, is like the most talented guy who's never really done anything in college basketball. I can't figure it out. He's been at
He
Georgia.
is an enigma,
He,
complete enigma.
you watch his tape, it's like, whoa, this guy's like really talented. And then he plays 15 minutes per game last year at Murray State. So I don't understand. And Westry too, Jim, has talent, but injuries just like crushed his soul.
Yeah, so there's upside here if Westry's healthy and Lindsey puts it together. I think it makes sense as a roster construction where they're really mobile. All their forwards, like Daniel Rivera, Kyron Lindsey, those guys can move around a little bit. Evan Chapman, the top 30-ish JUCO guy, also really versatile, was on a good McLennan team. Like, it makes sense to me, but they might have a little bit of problem with bigger front courts. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of them in this conference, so they might be okay in that department. But yeah, the depth, you're going to need a little bit of help from freshmen. They have a player named Ari Gooch, which is a really wonderful name as well.
Yes, yes.
A solid JUCO player, also from McLennan. But yeah, you're kind of digging a little deep to find depth here, especially if Westry's injury history catches up to him as well. So, wide range of outcomes for a team that turns over so much. You mentioned Kennedy has seemingly a high floor in this league, but we'll find out. This is probably his biggest test in terms of maximizing a roster in his UAB tenure. Number 4 for me is FAU. Gone are the days of Dusty May dominating this conference and getting FAU to the at-large caliber of team. But man, FAU also really wide range of outcomes to me. They have a bunch of new pieces on the roster. They leaned hard into the international market, not just in guys that are new. They got Xander Pintolone from Belgium, Vincent Neugebauer from Germany, Johan Sissokos from France. But some of their transfers, Moretti is Italian and played a little bit for them last year, but Maxim Logue barely got on the court for Oregon State. But our international guy Armin in the Discord said he had some language problems first coming over, and Kai he played a bunch in the Crown at the end of the year and looked really good to me. Like I was impressed by his tape the last couple of games, so I think he'll be a really solid piece for them. It's just a lot of shrug. Who knows? Even Langenfeld is from Germany, barely played last year. He was like rumored to go to Marquette last offseason. Then he ended up
Jeez.
at FAU and barely played. Um, Kai, I'm not going to mention he who must not be named, my specter, my poltergeist. You can talk about him if you want.
he,
But well, yeah, you might be their best
well, he
player, which
might
is a
be
bad
he
sign,
might be
right?
their leading scorer. And yeah,
Yeah.
Cannon Carlisle. Yeah. The talent, Jim, on the roster. I mean, first of all, John Jacobs. I think he's a good coach. Solid year one, but about what we expected. But man, he's really tapped into the international market. I am very curious to see how the Belgian guy's what 22. The German guy Neugebauer is 23. Sissoko, right? He's French. I mean, he's
Yep. He played in the U19 FIBA
yeah.
this summer. Yep.
So he's a little younger. But the talent. So yeah, Carlisle, who was I think a four-star recruit, I believe. Elohim from USC was top 70. Devin Williams is top 80 at UCLA. There is pedigree on the roster. So if the international guys hit, if the pedigree guys step down a little bit and find their level, and Carlisle isn't, I guess, just a black hole and he can score and actually be somewhat efficient, I think you have a lot of upside on this team.
Yeah, that's what I felt talking about them is like I just keep saying if, like if this
If,
guy works and
yeah,
if this,
yeah,
if that, like there's just so much unproven talent and unproven production at this level, but you could like squint and see how it might all come together. Last year, FAU also had a little bit of the international market. Vokietitis was the big man that they
yep.
brought over. Baba Miller was sort of internationally connected. Moretti was around. The weakness last year was defense outside the top 200. Some bad shooting luck, 341st in three-point percentage defense compared to 37th in two-point percentage. So I think maybe you can hope for a little regression there, even with the roster turning over, just a little better fortune in that department. But Jacobs, we knew, was the offensive guru on the Baylor staff. Maybe it's going to be an issue where the defense lags behind consistently in his tenure. I would not be surprised if that's like a trend going forward. Number five, Kai, this is me stepping up, Babe Ruth pointing to right field and calling my shot with Tulsa. Not a program that has been winning under Eric Conkle in recent years. Really struggled, quite honestly. Haven't had a year to write home about it all. But I love the new crop of talent he brought in. It feels like I don't know if there's an influx of money or if they just were able to find some of the right guys, but they've won 14 games in the conference in 3 years. I think
14
they
and
could
40, Jim. 14 and
14 and
40.
40. Yeah, not good. I think they could flirt with 10 this year, potentially getting up to double digits. I love Rigsby coming over from Troy.
Good player.
Uh, yeah, really good player. Was in the NCAA tournament. Barnstable from St. Thomas was like their most productive permanent player. A really good St. Thomas team. Terrence Ford Jr. played for the aforementioned Brian Hodgson at Arkansas State. Gives them a true point guard. Ade Papula, one of the best
We'll
JUCO
see.
players. Yeah, Ade Papula and Ari Gooch, just some fantastic names coming into this league. David Green at Rhode Island, really
Yes,
good. He got
stud.
officially eligible. Yep, he's going to be fantastic in this league. He played for Conkle at Louisiana Tech way back in the day,
Yeah.
so a little familiarity there. And then Dorian Onwuchekwa from Georgia Tech gives him upside at center. Like I can just see it, Kai, and even some of the depth with like Tylen Riley, Romad Dean, and Ian Schmeichel, just like guys that can fill a role off the bench. This roster has a little bit of upside and a higher floor to me, and so I'm giving Aaron Conkle maybe an unearned benefit of the doubt at Tulsa, but I'm giving it to him.
Yeah, he has three of Tulsa's worst four Ken Pom finishes in Ken Pom history. It ain't good.
Ooh,
It ain't good.
ooh,
Um,
yeah,
Talent hasn't been great, but last year they were supposed to be a lot better, and they kind of pooped the bed. And yeah, 14-40 in the American, not good. I think David Green's awesome. If you remember Archie Miller when he was struggling at Rhode Island, and he was year one or year two, they got Green eligible, and all of a sudden that team was good. I think he's gonna be a very good player, flirt with all conference in this league. I love Rigsby from Troy. I like Ford from Arkansas State. The entire Arkansas State team came to the American on different teams. It
yes,
seems. Yeah, can he put it together? We'll see. I like the top half in the standings call for Tulsa. I think they're gonna be right there. They have the
yeah.
upside to get like fifth, I think. I'm hesitant to just throw everything. I liked Conk a lot at La Tech. I'm just surprised how much he struggled in 3 years here.
Yeah, I mean the first year when they finished 316th and were like the worst against the spread team in the history of
Yeah.
basketball. Like every week they were just worse than the week before. It made no sense. Then last year 267th. Like that's your third year and you're still down in the depths of the sport. They never finished outside the top 200 before he took over. Maybe once.
Once
Yeah,
that was
once.
the 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't be 267th. That's not a good sign. Danny Manning finished in the top 100
Yep.
at Tulsa.
He's
Like
Danny Manning's had better years in all three of his years. Frank Haith never had a
yeah.
worse year.
It's
Yeah.
troubling. But this is kind of the make or break it. You know, Will Warren wrote that article for Basketball Under Review about the fourth year,
Yep.
how important it is for coaches, and it's about time Eric Kunkel gets somewhat near their program rank of 106. Like maybe you don't have to exceed it and crack the top 100, but finish 125th and show signs of life and get in the top half of the conference standings. I think that's fairly necessary. He started his career there as like a GA, so
He
maybe
did.
there's a little
Yeah.
bit of fondness to him, but oh, it's gone south, unfortunately.
Bill Self had this program seven. Seven.
Bill Self is a really good
Elite
basketball
Eight.
coach,
Holy
lest you
crap.
forget. Guy was unbelievable. All right, number six, Tulane, and I'm sure there's going to be maybe some uproar that they should be higher after they went 12 and 6 in the league last year, but they had the easiest conference strength of schedule and they were like sixth in actual Ken Palm finish. And Kai, unfortunately, we have the somber note of Greg Glenn passing away this offseason, one of their big two returners alongside Rowan Brumbaugh. He was a high usage guy, basically played some point forward for them, which is big in this system. Thinking back to Kevin Cross under Ron Hunter, having that guy at the top of the key that can initiate, get downhill, run dribble handoffs. That was Glenn's specialty. And I don't think they have like a proper replacement. And, you know, the timing of it makes it really hard. And you don't want to just focus on the court stuff with that. But it did hurt them, and they've kind of have to repiece the offense, retool the offense around Brumbaugh and Woods on the perimeter now.
Yeah, I still think a pretty good team. Ron Hunter, best coach in the league, is probably yeah. I'll say it. Well, him and Hodgson. I'll go like 1A, 1B if I'm top of my head.
Yeah, I'll just go to the stat that
Can't
I
be
sent you guys in our chat. In 27 years of being a head coach, Ron Hunter has beat the school's program rank where he was at 24 times.
yeah, that's incredible. He
I don't
lifts
even know how you do that.
he lifts talent. Last year, 12 and 6. I know the schedule, but last year 12 and 6 with his roster, with his turnover, he turned over the entire roster from a really good team that just didn't perform well in the standings. Impressive. And yeah, Brumbaugh found his level. He was all newcomer. He's probably gonna be all conference this season. I think Asher Woods is okay. You know, getting him back in the fold next to Brumbaugh, and then I think a couple of the transfers will be good. I think Scotty Middleton will finally live up to expectations here. I think he'll be good at this level. And Curtis Williams is fine in the American from Georgetown. I think Hunter has the guard play to be competitive in the middle of the league.
Yeah, you're hoping you've got the same kind of like reclamation project he found with Caleb Banks coming down from power conference and emerging into a stud. He did it with Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got bites at the apple there. Like Ringgold played a little bit last year, the former Texas A&M transfer. I think he could rise into a bigger role. And you mentioned Middleton and Williams. I think they're banking on some big time upside for them. And just what can they provide? I think that having the versatile forwards is very helpful. This team never rebounds. It's like a Ron Hunter thing because they zone and they're trapping a little bit, kind of out of position. So they're not going to be a good rebounding team on either end of the floor, no matter what. Just need to try to be a little bit more respectable there. Kai, speaking of Scotty Middleton, did you see the thing I tweeted about his roster or his physical attributes?
No, I did not.
At Ohio State as a freshman, he was listed as 6'7",
Oh,
190. As a sophomore at Seton Hall, he was listed as 6'6", 185. And this year, he's 6'6", 165.
that
I
can't.
don't know what kind of crash diet he's on or if everybody was just lying through their teeth about how big he was.
You
He
gotta
doesn't
get
look scrawny to me.
you gotta get this guy in the gym. One
Yeah.
six 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 165. Give me a break, man. He's like
Just
he'll blow away with the wind.
dump cottage cheese into everything you're eating and just
Yeah, drink
pack
some
on some
milkshakes,
pounds
man.
there. Yeah,
Get a beer
exactly.
gut. Goodness gracious. Yeah.
But yeah, we like Tulane because Ron Hunter's a fun personality, a very good coach, as mentioned, and it's kind of a unique system because the zone on defense and offensively really playing through bigs. I think they'll have to lean into Brumbaugh even more this year, but it's still a very solid team that it's usually just never going to go badly when Hunter is the coach. You're never going to have disastrous years with him. Okay, North Texas is my number 7 team, Kai. I had a really tough time with what to do with this roster and this coaching staff. It's not McCaslin and Hodge anymore, so do I throw out how good they were and revert to kind of the range that they were before they had that really awesome twosome coaching duo manning the sticks? Daniel Robinson's a good coach, former TJ Otzelberger assistant at Iowa State, did pretty well at Cleveland State, brings a few pieces with him, so there's some continuity, like familiarity with the coach. And I think he did all right in the portal too. I don't mind the roster, like McClendon I mentioned in the all conference
Yeah.
portion. You get a UCLA guard. He's no slouch. Where did you land with this team? It's probably going to be defense first again. That's Robinson's calling card and being a pressure coach like Otzelberger defensively. But I think wide range outcomes for them as well.
Yeah, culture shock as the McCaslin tree is gone. So it's been a while since we haven't had McCaslin or Hodge at the helm. But I was impressed with Robinson at Cleveland State, 39 and 21 in the Horizon over his tenure there, in a big overperformance last year. He took a roster that had nothing back, and he just made it a winner in the league. It was very impressive. Almost won the Horizon, and he brings.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
almost
know.
won it, Kai.
We had a
20 to
big
1.
future on them. That would have been nice. Yeah, 4 guys from Cleveland State too to kind of usher in his style, kind of similar to Hodgson. I bet the D is very solid. I bet they're competitive. I do like the David Terrell get from UTEP, the McClendon get. Hey, we'll see. Shackelford, the D2 guy, is he good? I think he put up stats at the D2 level. I have not watched any of him. But yeah, I think right in the middle of the pack, just like around Tulane, Tulsa's level.
Yeah, I think that some of the fits here make a ton of sense. Like McClendon, he was at San Jose State last year, but played for UCLA, McCronin, like high pressure defense. David Terrell played for Joe Golding at UTEP, high pressure defense. And then you get Demarion Watson from Iowa State, who obviously is familiar with scheme because he was playing for Otzelberger, where Robinson used to be. Watson is a freak athlete. Like he came in and played a little bit last year when Momcilovic was hurt, got a little extra minutes. I think he's like potential defensive player of the year in the conference, despite playing less than 10 minutes a game. He could really pop here with some familiarity with Robinson. I'm very intrigued to see how that goes. So I can like really see how the defense could be awesome here. Maybe there's enough scoring too. They could get as high as like 2 to me. This is a team that could theoretically be better than Memphis, but could also finish like ninth if it just doesn't work. And
Yeah.
the step up in competition is too much for Robinson. Next up in the standings, Kai, Wichita State. My, how the mighty have fallen in Wichita. A well-funded program. Shout out to the Cook brothers. Great fan base. But man, it just hasn't gone well under Paul Mills. They moved on from Isaac Brown and thought they were getting, a big steal. Guy made the Sweet 16 at Oral Roberts, but it just hasn't worked so far. I did put this stat in my notes here, Kai. Greg Marshall's first 2 seasons at Wichita, he finished 154th and 134th in Ken Palm before really taking off. Mills has finished 154th and 136th. So do we draw a straight line? Is he a future Greg Marshall megastar at this school, or are you not really a believer? What do you think of the roster
I
here with the Shockers?
I am disappointed so far in Mills. 0 for 2 on outperforming Kim Pum's expectations. It's just not the start we expected. I guess I expected a lot after he came over from Oral Roberts. Yeah, maybe he turns around. Maybe he pulls a Marshall. Kenyon Giles is very good. You named him all conference earlier in this section. He was first team also all SoCon at Greensboro. The JUCO guy, top 15 JUCO get, I think it's gonna be good. I think Karan Boyd is solid from the ETSU.
Defensive Player of the Year in the
Yeah,
SoCon. Yep.
Wilberg, Wilberg from Purdue. I wouldn't
Uh,
expect too much from Wilberg. I'm gonna
yeah.
put that there. I think this team is decent. I would probably have them around this level too, Jim. Like I think they're pretty clustered with the Tulsa, Tulane, North Texas group, but yeah, maybe a shade below. Just because Mills hasn't gotten there yet for me in terms of like the Roundhouse era Wichita State basketball.
Yeah, he hasn't had like a good year without Max Asmus. That's you can kind of like draw a straight line for when Max Asmus was tearing it up at Oral Roberts and when he succeeded, and it just hasn't come together here. Yeah, I think like 3 through 9 in this conference is from 105th to 150th in Ken Palm. So like really kind of narrow range, a lot of parity in that grouping of teams. The depth doesn't really excite me. Dylan Batty from Temple barely played there. He's at least a sophomore. You get some shooting with Michael Gray Jr. from Nichols. But yeah, Mills just hasn't had a great defense, and they had a monster shot blocker with Quincy Ballard and still struggled a little bit on that end. I think Valencia and Boyd form a nice defensive combo, like some versatility. Boyd can guard up and down the lineup. Valencia, in theory, also can, but it's time this turns into wins for Mr. Mills. Otherwise, he could end up with a short leash. Brown got 3 seasons there. It wouldn't shock me if they go under 500 again in the league if Mills only got 3 as well.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Rice. It's just a tough place to win, man. I didn't realize they had not cracked the top 150 in Ken Palm since Ben Braun
It's
finished 148th in 2012. It's just, yeah, I know they've moved to leagues and stuff, and Rob Lanier's probably, a better coach than they've had. But I mean, Mike Rhodes didn't win here. He's a Big Ten coach now. He was awesome at VCU. It's just a really tough place to get it done. I do think Jalen Smith is going to be a huge addition.
mhm.
Guy that played for Lanier at SMU. Like I mentioned, I think he averaged like 15, 4 and 4 in their 4 and tour this offseason. Seems like he's going to be a big piece next to Broadnax, the experienced point guard. Anderson from Prairie View A&M is a big time shooter. He scored well in the offseason. They've got some pieces, bites at the apple in the front court with Akuche, Patterson, Giwa, Oladokun. So I could see them also being higher. I think they're in this, mix mess of 105th to 150th. It just didn't go very well last year, and them finishing inside the Ken Palm top 150 would be like a crowning achievement based on how this program's been.
Yeah, I was surprised, Jim, looking back. I remember the record in the AAC and them being horrible. Lanier actually finished 188 in Kempom. Like you said, like not 150, but hey, outperformed expectations. Um, Not bad, but again, the record sucked. And I think Trey Broadnax coming back, he is one of very few players, like I said earlier in the podcast, that comes back as the leader, the alpha of his team from prior year. And not many teams can say that. I think it's a great starting spot. I think Jalen Smith is going to be a nice pairing with him. Hey, Anderson scored a lot of points at Prairie View A&M. I'm kind of like intrigued by this team. If I had a little more confidence in Lanier as a coach, which I don't really, I'd probably have him a little higher. But because of that, it's probably more of a middling team, kind of stuck in I'd say a little bit above the dregs of the below conference of the last like four
Yep.
teams or so.
Yeah, I kind of wish Matt was here because I feel like his linear opinions have really vacillated. Like when he was at Georgia State, the team was solid, but I felt like they underperformed. And you watch them, it was like we're just running a ball screen with 3 guys not moving, and the offense could get really stagnant in the half court. But then I think Matt loved that SMU team to finish 72nd, and he was like, yeah, that team was like solid, really competitive for a while, and they trailed off a little at the end. Um, but I think Lanier's a better coach than when he was at Siena. He's learned some stuff. That was 20 years ago. But it's just a tough place to win, man. I will say, um, Rhodes did finish 155th. He won 23 games, had their only above 500 conference record in the last like 21
It's
years.
crazy.
So, yeah, he did win here. So it's possible, but even to that extent, only finishing 155th in Ken Palm, that's what it takes to like stand out at Rice.
Hey, on the positive side, Jim, Rice was just named the #1 school in Texas. So congratulations, Rice. You're an
Hey, it is
academic
a
powerhouse.
phenomenal academic school. So
Phenomenal
and maybe
school.
that's part
Good job.
maybe that's part of what makes it hard to win is those
Probably.
like admission standards. Yes. Okay, next up, Charlotte, Kai. I kind of like the roster reset. I don't know if I'm like squinting too hard or this is bias from having written the teams and thinking, everybody's in their rosiest outcomes. But they needed turnover on the roster. Last year was a just complete disaster. Deshane Mingo at point guard, I think, is a nice big scoring guard who has great vision. They got Villar for VR from Barcelona, who like the best, arguably the best program in Europe. He's a bit player, but he's cracking the senior team at 18. I think that tells you his upside. There were some draft nerds that liked Arden Conyers last year before the season as off the red shirt with his shooting versatility, but he sucked last year. I'm kind of buying the upside, but I don't know, Kai. I guess the front court. I like Meding from Norfolk State, good defensive big man. Providence wanted Anton Bonke to be good. He wasn't. I don't know if he'll be good here.
Yeah.
It's just a weird spot for Fern too. He's in the same boat of like year three. He was promoted because Ron Sanchez left like in the middle of the night to go back to being on the staff at Virginia. I don't know. It could be like the Rodney Terry thing. Like, all right, we just let you run out your course for 3 years and we move on.
Did he fool us? Did year one fool us, Jim? When he was Charlie was really good. It was like, oh, Fern, okay, uh, better than Ron Sanchez. And then yeah, 257th last year, dead last in the American, and also had talent. I thought Charlotte was going to be solid last year. I think many people did. Didn't work out. So I agree. Roster reset was needed. You do have one starter back in Blackman, so not totally starting over. I do like Mingo. I think he was really impressive with Marshall. I caught a couple games there in the Sun Belt tournament at the end of the year. Yeah, Major Freeman is the guy that's always been interesting to me, Jim, but he's been at Siena in the Metro Atlantic and hasn't really won. So maybe I'm just kind of overrating him. I think the question is how good is the Spanish guy, VR, and how much of a bounce back in guys like Conyers and Bonke from Providence, who their fans were crazy about heading into, I think, a year or two ago.
Yep.
How can they bounce back from expectations and disappointing seasons?
Yeah, it's stylistically, I like Fern was a professional coach in Australia. I thought he was going to speed things up when Ron Sanchez left, and he's been outside the top 300 in pace. Like, yes, he sped up to 306 from 356, but they're still playing real crawling in the half court, which they've got a little more depth and athleticism this year. I want to see him speed up, except when Bonke is lumbering up and down the floor. That guy is a giant. But they've got guards, they've got versatility. Like Medin can move, Conyers can move if you play small ball with them. I want to see them ramp up the tempo, do something different. If you're not winning, change the game a little bit. And I kind of think Charlotte needs to do that. All right, number 11, 12, and 13, Kai. I think people not be shocked by who we have here. East Carolina, kind of in that Rice thing of why can't anyone win here? It's just like a black hole for coaches, seemingly, even when they have good players transfer out, your Tristan Newtons, etc. It just hasn't worked in Greenville. They've got some really good defensive pieces back with Jashane Woodard, Travion LeBeau, Jordan Riley graded out really well on that end, like a kind of a steals maven. I could see the defense being awesome. Schwartz was the defensive coordinator for Rick Barnes at Tennessee. That was supposed to be his thing, and I haven't been that great on that end. Even Isaiah Mbang, his brother Bez, was two-time defensive player of the year in the
Yeah.
Ivy, and he had a good defensive year for William and Mary last year. And they've got more size. Emma Juru from George Mason, which is a really good defense under skin. Like this should be an awesome defense, but I don't know if they'll fully deliver on that potential under Schwartz Kai, and I don't think they can score. Their offense is going to suck.
Yeah, such a boring program. No offense, ECU. Just like I always just kind of sigh when I get to the Pirates, and I'm like, I'm previewing them. This is year four for Schwartz. He's been pretty meh, like you said. In the American, his defensive rankings, ninth, fourth, seventh. So even he has that expectation or reputation as a defensive coach, he hasn't really delivered in conference play, and nationally it's worse. It's around on 200 every single year.
And you know who's on staff the year they finished fourth? It was Mark Adams. Maybe he gets a little credit
A
for
little bit of
helping the
credit
defense
for the
there.
spike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, two starters back. I do like the Riley upside. Transfer class just weak though, and I think they're really thin on depth. I think they're bottom of the league. Bottom three is fine with me.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea how they score efficiently. I don't see shooting here. The shot creation, like Mbang's got to be awesome as a sophomore after kind of being a role player for William and Mary as a freshman. Maybe Calker, the JUCO transfer from Eastern Florida State, is something. I thought maybe RJ Felton's little brother, Boogie Felton, LaDante Felton, was going to be helpful, but then he redshirted last year, which I don't think it was injury. I think he might just not be very good. So yeah, you're really kind of straining to figure out the offense. Woodard was like super dynamic, stuff the stat sheet in junior college, and then he became just like a guy in the American. I mean, I just think back to like they had Jaden Gardner and finished 170th,
Yeah.
and Tristan Newton, like Final Four most outstanding player, All American, finished 190th. Like they just
Mhm.
can't figure it out getting past a hump, and I don't think this is the year that they do. So maybe another coaching search for them next offseason. Kai, are they one of the ones you had on your little hot seat circle?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's Schwartz. I think it's who'd we just talk about? Um,
Fern at
Conkle.
Charlotte.
Conkle.
Yep.
Fern's probably got a year or two left, but certainly Conkle. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. All right, 12 and 13, UTSA and Temple. Man, I love Austin Clunch, and I love the way he worked the game, going from Nichols to 1 year as an assistant, make a Final Four at Alabama and get the UTSA job. But his roster construction makes me want to scream. You go from Primo Spears last year to Primo Spears 2.0 and Vashon Alette. Like,
yeah,
why are you doing this to yourself, brother? Don't bring in these super erratic mid-range assassins that are mega inconsistent and don't win and inefficient. I kind of like some pieces like Buddy Rich, Caleb Rich. I think he's going to be a nice piece for them, but does he actually get the touches or is Alette just going to launch every single possession? I don't know. I think this roster is less talented than last year's, and last year's
yep.
wasn't very good.
Yeah, and the rumors of not paying guys what they promised, if you believe Monsanto's whole rant on Twitter when he said they didn't give him NIL. Um, I don't know. It's not a good situation. I can't imagine UTSA has much money, so maybe Klosh is just working with what he can with this roster build. He 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 outperformed preseason expectations last year at UTSA, but I think everyone agrees they definitely had the talent to do that. I do love his Nichols tenure. We know how good he
Yep.
did there. Yeah, let that's volatile. That's a yikes ad for me. Like Primo Spears, Jamar Simpson was good for Southern Utah. One of, if not their best player, and yeah, Buddy Rich, solid. I think there's a bit of talent here, but I don't think it flows well or fits well, and I think it results in a bottom tier finish in this league.
Yeah, I think maybe the best way to describe them or to explain what's going on here, Kai, is last year Pierce Spencer was a grad assistant at UTSA, and now he's their starting point guard. Like he's coming back from being a grad assistant, played 3 years for Clunch at Nichols, and then now he's on the roster and is going to start. Like that, I don't like the vibes of that. That feels
Yeah,
desperate. That feels odd.
weird, very
Um,
weird.
really, really strange. So he last played college basketball in 2023, and now he's gonna 3 seasons, 2 seasons later, he's gonna be their starting point guard. It's a
Yeah,
strange little predicament. I don't have a ton of optimism for that working out. Speaking of a lack of optimism, Kai, hot seat. Adam Fisher at Temple. He has the two worst seasons in Temple history in Ken Palm. And I know they had John Chaney and Fran Dunphy, and the program's in a little bit of a different state than it was, but they've been really bad. And last year, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because his team was trying to lose games the year before. They were like investigated for gambling, um, fraud, and ring. But then last year, they were bad again. And they don't, they were like one of the lowest in the country in assist rate. It was kind of my turn, your turn with a bunch of bad scorers. They didn't have much size. They still don't. I like Felt as like the bouncy shot blocker from Bowling Green coming in to maybe help. But man, I don't see a real renaissance coming with this squad, and it honestly feels like it could be. I have them last. I think it could be a really, really disastrous year that leads to a coaching change.
yeah. I don't think Fisher's the guy. Hey, 9-9 and seventh in the American though last year. It's not horrible for what that team probably should have been. I do like this Rosie upside. Your two starters back are sophomores who started as freshmen, and Tobiasen was an all freshman team member in the American. So there is some development upside at least. And I kind of like Mason from UIC. I kind of like Ford from Arkansas State. Like we said, every single Arkansas State player is coming in
It's
from
bizarre. Yeah.
into the American. The other guys, I mean, Hines from Bama State, Smith from Charleston, not bad. Gilliard from Manhattan. I think they can finish not last. I'll frame it as that, but I wouldn't be surprised because they're very thin up front. Past Felt, it's like nothing in the front court.
Yeah, and that's kind of been their issue. Like Steve Settle was playing power forward slash center, and he was a 180-pound, 6'10" guy that just wanted to shoot threes. There's a little bit more heft to it. Gavin Griffiths is an interesting case,
Yeah.
like top
Mhm.
50-ish recruit at Rutgers, then couldn't shoot it all, goes to Nebraska, couldn't shoot it all. Like maybe you get to salvage him here and he finds his level and gets a little more confident. But yeah, this one takes a lot of squinting for me. And I just have not been impressed by, yeah, I guess last year you mentioned they were 500 in conference play. That surprises me. I remember them being
Yeah.
worse than that,
Yeah.
and analytically they kind of were, but he won some games. Down the stretch, they beat North Texas. Like that's a shocking win for Temple at that point. So, what does he need to do to save his job this year, Kai? Where would you put it?
Same year. I don't know. The expectation of Temple should be high, but in the current day and age, I don't know if there are, frankly. I mean, 9-9 in the league again. So they were seventh analytically too in the American. That's how bad this conference was last season. That Temple was the seventh best team, and we know
And yeah,
how bad they were
finished
nationally.
173rd, and
Yeah,
that's middle of the pack here.
I don't know. If I were the AD, I would see the issues here. I probably wouldn't have hired Fisher in the first place, but but that's neither here nor there. Um, I can see them moving on after the season. Yeah,
Yeah, weren't they almost going to hire C.Y. Young?
yeah.
And then there were like rumors of Matt Langle from Colgate too. Like,
Langle would have been a fantastic hire.
yeah,
I
there are some candidates in the Northeast here. If this doesn't work out, I think
mhm.
you jump all over Matt Langle if you can get him.
This is a
So
good a once proud program, Jim Temple. What are they in Ken Palm? 91 in program rating. Like, they should be
yeah,
up in the top 100 every year.
yeah. John Chaney's finishing top 10, top 15, and then
Yeah,
Fran Dunphy's finishing like top 40 a bunch of times. But it has certainly changed. Aaron McKee finished outside the top 100 all 4 years, and then Fisher's had
yeah,
two worse years than anything McKee did. So
tough.
it has taken a turn for the worse. Unfortunate. But the Owls, this is the conference of the Owls, Kai, Rice and Temple.
Yes. Did they fire
That
Dunphy?
is,
I can't remember. Sorry, Jim. Not to belabor.
I thought he like
He just
retired,
retired and
and
then
I know
came
he
back.
came
Yeah,
back. Yeah,
yeah,
I think LaSalle just like needed somebody to be a
yeah.
caretaker for a little while, and he's such a Philly guy that he was like, sure,
That's
I
right.
guess I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he thought handing it to McKee, Temple guy, like
Yeah.
Dunphy guy, was going to be a good transition, and it just didn't work out. All right, Kai, let's hit the that wraps up the American Conference preview. Let's hit the review section and get the people on their way on a Friday.
Cobble Rave, we thank you for the new review. He says, I'm educated now for 2025 after our mid major podcast. Thanks for a shout out of my alma mater, the Denver Pioneers. That's right.
Oh yeah,
He says the closest we ever came to the tourney was 1971 when we were ranked 25 and lost our last game at Loyola Chicago his senior year. I have to let it go. Just kidding. Great pod. Rave on, says Cabo Rave.
never let it go, never let it go,
I
man.
would never let it go.
He was top 50 under Joe Scott in 2013.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Wild. All right. Cabo Rave, appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back with the WCC next week. I believe that was what agreed. I will be on a bachelor party in Miami. So Kai and Matt are going to take it down for you folks. Then we'll be back with the A10 in 2 weeks. Get all three heads together. We know the A10 warrants all three thoughts,
That's
Kai.
right.
So got to feed the people there. But this was the American. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you again next week, Friday morning, probably same time. WCC preview coming. That's it. Cheers.